Okay, cool. So Chris, you ready to do this? All right, beautiful. So listen, thank you guys all very much for joining this lunch and learn. This is like the second time we've done this now, and it definitely looks like there seems to be a lot of people that are interested in doing these lunch and learns at this time of the day.
Yes,
I think it's a great time to learn, right?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get started into today's presentation that we're going to do on the secrets to tenant screening, I want to kind of talk to you guys about a few upcoming events. But before, my little story, just real quickly, is, before I got into real estate investing, I think this was probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I had before I got into it. And it was always the fear of, what if I get a tenant in my property and they completely trash the place, right? So, over the years, myself, Chris, and Quentin, and even Kathy as well too, we've gone through some issues with tenants, and we've learned a lot. And with that, what we want to do is share with investors that are going to be on the call today. You could be experienced, or you can maybe hopefully get some tips from us in regards to what we do. And if you're brand new, and if it's something that's holding you guys back, don't let this hold you back, because even though there are bad tenants out there and there are tenants who are professionals, there are great tenants out there. So you just have to know how to screen them. And then just a reminder, guys, if you can just mute your phones as well too, okay? So before I pass it over to Chris, one of the things that I want to do is just talk to you guys about some upcoming events.
We're not here Friday.
Hey guys, can you just put your phones on mute?
We are not here Friday?
No.
Why?
Balcony's off.
Hey Chris, can you just take a look and see which phone is not on mute?
Remember I have those Friday, Monday thing?
Oh,
Yeah, so I start.
tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Wednesday.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Yeah, okay.
Hey guys, can you put your phones on mute?
I don't even know how to mute people.
Okay.
Our lunchtime is off tomorrow, so we can do it.
Oh boy, how do we
Okay.
mute everybody?
Good.
Yeah, so I can wear something.
I think
Okay.
there is some. Hold on, let me see here. There is. I know there's a way to mute everybody. I just can't find it right now. Anyways, guys, just remember to put your phones on mute. So, for anybody who is a realtor that's on the call, and you want to learn more about what we do, myself and my team, we've actually moved over to Our Neighborhood Realty. And one of the things that we want to do for some of the realtors that are in that brokerage is to, it's not only just about teaching them how to, say, farm or cold call, or some of the normal things that realtors may do, but to also teach them how to talk and deal with real estate investors. Okay, so we do teach classes over there as well too. Anybody that wants to learn how to run the numbers for an investment property, one of the classes that we teach on a monthly basis is our Fast Start class. And the next one that we've got is on October 6th. We're going to be doing that in Oshawa at our neighborhood realty office. So we got about 9 spots left for that particular class. Okay. Now, last week, I'm sure a few of you are on the call that may have come out to Dave DeBoe's webinar that he had on how to raise capital with no rejection. So if you missed it, we're going to be doing another one on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. And listen, that class was really good. So if you missed it, I highly recommend that you join this webinar. And Dave's going to be doing that all the way out in Vancouver. Okay. So again, for our classes, you can always go to our website, which is at smarthomechoice.ca, and then just click on the tabs event. Okay. Now, one of the things that we just recently did, and we do a lot of these throughout the year, is our property tours. So we did one on Saturday. And one of the things that we've learned, because we've been doing a number of these over the years, is we've actually gotten really good at, as opposed to just going out and looking at properties that are on the market, is to go out and actually take a look at our investors that are in the process of actually converting their single family home into a 2-unit. Which is really essentially doing the BRRRR strategy, which is buy, renovate, refinance, rent, and repeat. Okay, so we don't have anything scheduled for the rest of the year. However, if you do want your own private property tour, we can definitely put something together for a handful of you guys. Okay, if you're interested in it. Neighborly, not sure if you guys have heard of Neighborly, but Neighborly, they've got this incredible application for tenant screening. And we're going to be doing a webinar with them on November the 14th, and that's going to be at 8 p.m. So again, if you go to our website, you'll be able to register for this particular class that's coming up. And then last but not least, again, myself and Chris and Quentin, we've learned a lot when it comes to screening tenants. And so through all of our mistakes that we've made, we've actually put a guide together. Now, we haven't updated the guide in about 1.5 years or so. So again, you can definitely 100% use it, but there's a couple new things that we've learned over the last 1.5 years that Chris is going to be sharing with you guys. And again, some people don't even like reading. So instead of reading, you can actually just listen to what that we have to talk about today. And with that, Chris, you are up, my friend. So take it over.
All right, beautiful. Thank you very much, Mr. Hibbert. Guys, I'm really excited today, to be honest. I love this lunch and learn thing. You know what? I think it's incredibly interesting. You can learn at lunch, but more importantly, I don't have to be doing this in the evening because I got kids to take care of. So this is really, really nice when they're in school. Okay, so listen, without further ado, and to keep us on time here, let's step into this here. So let me try to show my screen. Share what we got here. You got my screen? No. How do we share the screen? Is there not view option? I thought we tried this before, Gary.
Yeah. You don't have it? Oh, you know what? I may have to kill it on my side. Give me a second here. Make host. There you go. You have it now?
Let's find out. Let's find out. No. Doesn't look like it yet.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you should have it. Yep. And listen, I think I did say October 6th, but I did mean November 7th. I think that was for the Dave DeBoe's webinar. So I apologize for that. All right, beautiful. You got it.
All right. Ooh, okay. Ooh, sorry, guys. All right, welcome to the live webinar afternoon. We're going to learn something today. All right. So we're talking about tenant screening. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are terrified of tenants. Gary, you mentioned that already. This is what a lot of times keeps people from getting into real estate investing. All right, but we're here to dispel the myth. Tenants aren't all bad. Tenants can be fantastic. In fact, you treat them with respect. They are your customers. They will pay for your kids' education. They'll pay for your retirement. They'll pay for whatever it is that you want them to pay for, providing that you treat them kind with respect and so forth. Obviously, we want to avoid bad tenants. So let's jump in. All right, so take a look at this guy. All right, so let's start with setting up the house. All right, look at this guy. I thought this was so genius. I love it. This kid right here. Boom. Doesn't the house look clean? All right, here we go. Okay, so let's talk about the first things first. Now, clean up the property. Let's clean up the property because obviously the house needs to sell itself. You guys need to clean up the house. That's the first thing. Clean the appliances, the fridge. Listen, if you got to hire a cleaning company, very important because you expect the house to look good. The clients, of course, the tenants will also expect the house to look good. Lighting, very important. So many times we go into these properties with such poor lighting. Replace the light bulbs. Make sure that they're about the same colors. Listen, 60 watts is good enough, just nothing dim. And any repairs such as fixing screens, toilets, closet shelves, nail holes in the wall. These are important things to take a look at and just repair because these small things can turn a tenant off, as they would turn you off if you think about it, right? All right, showing off the property, pictures, very, very important. Oftentimes we'll cruise the ads and see terrible pictures. Listen, guys, take attractive pictures. You might even want to consider hiring somebody out to take pictures. Kitchen, bathroom, living room, dining room, master bedrooms. Don't forget the deck in the front of the house. What do you call them? Cell phone pictures. Those are really, really, they often don't translate very well in any event. So that might be something you will want to consider, certainly. You can expense it later as well, so don't forget that, right? We also typically suggest getting a lockbox. Lockbox is great, if nothing else, for your repair guy, but there's nothing worse than arriving at the property with no keys. You know, you got to line up out the door. Listen, I've done that. Don't do it. Get the keys, put the keys in the lockbox, and everybody's happy. Okay, so very simple. Listen, let's set up the ad and let's deal with some replies. Look at this guy. This guy's ready for business. Computer on overload right here. He's got so many replies. Fantastic. So typically, I'm posting my ads on Kijiji. Now, you could post in many other places depending on your strategy, but in all reality, for me, I find that Kijiji is still the #1 at this stage. Now, if you're doing other strategies like student rentals, for example, you may consider placesforstudents.com. I like the site because you can, as a landlord, you can post there. As a tenant, potential student, you can post there as well. Facebook Marketplace is another great one that's really blowing up lately. I see that a lot. A lot of people posting on Facebook Marketplace. Bulletin boards and condo boards. If you're doing condos, that's a great place to find new tenants because tenants are always moving from one unit to the other in the building. Laundromats, where do you think tenants hang out? Oftentimes are at the laundromat. Friends, family, that one's pretty obvious. Bulletin boards at the school, other students. I don't know if viewit.ca is still really operating at all, but that's a place that we used to post. And you may still find some success there. Craigslist is another one, but I don't know if it's as used as much anymore here in Canada as it is in the US. And of course, for rent lawn signs. Am I muted here?
No, go ahead. You're good.
A lot of people may not want to put their for rent sign up because they don't really want to be out there. However, it's still great because you might find some local traffic, somebody moving from one street to another. They've got family in the neighborhood and so forth. So it's not a bad move to put a for rent lawn sign out there. Hey guys, if you would, just do us all a favor. Put yourselves on mute if you could. I don't know if we can actually mute this thing, Gary, or not.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. I think it's pretty good right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic.
You're not getting any feedback right now, are you?
No.
Okay, good. Yep. No, so I've done it.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so listen, what to include in your ad. This is important here, guys. What to include in your ad. Now, my experience, I like to make my ads mostly point form. I really just find that there are so many people trying to rent, so many people looking for rentals. I just find that most people don't have time to go through don't have time to go through the whole thing. It just point form for me, I find it makes the most sense. People just don't seem to have a lot of patience or time anymore. Now, if you've got different strategies, for example, a rent to own, and you're doing a house first, right? Property first, rent to own, for example, you may definitely want to do a different approach. You may want to sell the house in the ad. But as far as it goes, for me personally, I've been finding that point form for a typical rental is the best approach. Catchy headline, of course, you're going to need a catchy headline, but you don't need to get fancy. Hey, look, newly renovated, 3-bedroom family home. That's perfect. Gorgeous, 2-bedroom, apartment. That'll work just as fine. Don't forget to add the best pictures you took. Don't forget to add the front of the house as well and the yard, because these are important in the pictures too. So I typically put the front of the house in the pictures as the main picture for the ad. However, you may feel that putting in the best looking room might do the trick, like the kitchen or the bathroom, for example, maybe the living room is your best room. So you may want to put that in. Obviously, the picture is what's oftentimes going to make people click on the ad. Now, don't forget to include the price, the length of the lease, parking, and other things, because you will get a lot of questions about those. And I see a lot of times people forget just the basics. Don't forget to include these things. In fact, now Kijiji, just speaking of that, is making it a little bit more difficult, I would say, because you really have to include everything before you can even proceed. They've recently changed it up. So it's tough now to forget to include these kind of things, but nonetheless, I still recommend you pay attention. Now, lately, I've been adding in the school district into my ads. It's very easy to find school district. We're in Durham region here. So you can go to the Durham Region School Board, for example, and find the district for your street, your area. And I've been finding a lot of success with that and adding it in, because especially with a lot of people coming out of Toronto, coming into our area, I'm really just finding that they're starting to ask me and be more interested in the school district more than ever before. So this is something that I recommend you may want to consider doing. And it's so easy to find. You just go onto the website, like I said, Durham School Board, or wherever you are for that matter, and find the school district for that area. Because guess what? Moms, parents, they're always looking for these things. Right? Now, I will often say that my unit is pet friendly. And even though truthfully, I'd rather not have pets in the property, let's be honest, I would say about 80, 75, maybe % of tenants tend to have pets. And here's the trick. If you say not pet friendly, oftentimes they'll straight up lie to you. They'll tell you, nah, I don't have a pet. Only when they move in do you find out that they actually had a pet. So as far as it goes for me, I love Poochie. Hey, I got 3 dogs at home. You know, I'm so pet friendly. I love it. But
yeah, and that's an important point as well, too, right? I think that's something that we learned fairly early on, Chris, is that to say, yes, it is pet friendly. And at least that way, you know what, they are telling you that they have pets, and then you can decide at that point in time, once they come to the property, if you want to or not. So no, that's a good point.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to battle this cold here I got going on. Okay, so yeah, pet friendly. You know what, guys? Whether you want pets or not, there's nothing you can do about it as far as it goes in here in Ontario, at the end of the day. However, you can be preventative. So if you say pet friendly and you want to cross them out, you know what, at least you know up front what you're getting into, right? And then I'll always say non-smoking as well. Because, you know, listen, at the end of the day, people are always asking about that, especially now with the marijuana laws coming in. People will ask you. So I always say non-smoking. Frankly, it's up to you, but I recommend you keep that in as well. All right. Now, I prefer to be contacted directly through the Kijiji app. So typically, I don't put my contact info. But you know what? Hey, guys, if you have your own approach, feel free to add your contact info directly into Kijiji. However, you may get a lot of spam that way too. So understand that you may consider putting in your own, creating a new email address and a specific phone number specifically for your rental ads. It'll help keep the spam down, and it'll keep it off of your personal phone number or email address. Just a couple of tips there. So look, here's an example of an ad that I've been using with a lot of success here. And as you'll notice, see, the headline's it's nothing fancy. And I put everything in point form, right? Beautiful 2-bedroom apartment, Oshawa, newly renovated, great for commuters, right? I put in parks. I put in some keywords as well: UOIT students, OPG workers, grocery store. You know, describe it a little bit, but again, point form. Very simple. Personal laundry included. That's important. Tenants will always ask you about that. Personal laundry. I put in full shower and tub, because you'll find that oftentimes, especially parents, and if they got younger children, they will ask for if you've got a tub in the unit, right, for bath time. So if you just have a shower, that's, you know, it's okay. But a tub, right, especially for parents, can be a make or break, right? Plenty of storage. AC, central heating, whatever it is that you've got there. Put the rent, parking included, put no smoking, renting for October 1st or whatever the case is. 1 year lease, first and last required. And then as you buy at the bottom here, hey, look, I put the school district. So I put 4 schools there. At least that way the parents can see it right off the bat. They don't have to go searching, right? So it just makes sense for me. I don't know, Gary, you ever done that? You ever seen anybody do that with the school district lately?
No, I haven't. But you know what? It's definitely a question that we get asked a lot when we used to do a lot more of the the showings for these properties. That you always want to know what the school districts were, and they also wanted to know what the ranking of the schools were as well too. Right?
Yeah,
it's huge.
Listen, you're right. It's huge. Listen, I'm not going that far, certainly, but they could do their own research
for sure. But it definitely helps though to have the schools there.
Yeah, for sure. At least in my experience, I think it's something that adds value. How's that? Okay, so listen, setting up showings, very simple. Guys, for setting up showings, there's a wrong way, as far as I'm concerned, and a right way to do it. Wrong, you might get a stampede of people if you do it the wrong way. If you do it the right way, you can have it look busy, yet still be manageable and still have the opportunity to speak to everybody on a one-on-one basis every time. So my rules are very simple when I'm setting up my showings. And that's without it, that's no exception. All showings happen within a 1 hour span. Appointments, I will stagger every 15 minutes. And if you'll notice down at the bottom there, I put, 3 to 4 appointments, 7 o'clock, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45. I do not book, if I'm doing a showing 7 to 8, I do not book at 8 o'clock. If you book at 8 o'clock, you may have the people show up, but you're going to be there till 8:30, 9 by the time everyone's out, you've spoken to them, and you've cleaned up. And I really don't want to be there that long. So right. 7 to 7:45 is your booking window. 8 o'clock, everyone's out. You've cleaned up by 8:30, 8:15, 8:30, and away you go. You get to go home.
Right. And so one of the things I think that we started when we used to do it in the beginning, we used to do it for myself, I would do one showing at a time. And here's why, what we found by doing this, we used to do them, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. and every Sunday at 2 p.m., is that you get to now control your day and your time, as opposed to going to the property 6 or 7 or 8 times in a week. You're now only going twice. So you got an evening showing for people who work during the day, and then a weekend showing for, people who are working during the weekend may have the weekends off. And we found it was so much better. And especially when you see that there was a number of people that were coming into the property, that there was a demand for that property as well too, where you can sometimes even drive up the price of the rent. You hanging in there, Chris?
Oh,
let it out.
Oh my God. Yeah. See, when I'm talking, it's okay. So yeah, great point, because I'm not trying to go to the house, 3, 4, 5, 8 times for every one Tom, Dick, and Harry that wants to come. You know what? We don't have time for that. And as you said, you want it to look fairly busy as well. I always confirm by text my showings exactly 2 hours before showings. And this is my own experience. When I don't do that, I find that my showings, my no-shows tend to be significant. Whereas when I'm confirming 2 hours before, my no-shows go way down. And I'll tell you why I'm doing 2 hours in particular, not 1 hour, not 3 hours, not early in the afternoon, none of that. It's very simple for me. 2 hours, if you confirm 1 hour before, you're going to have your tenants, your prospects, they've already gotten into something. They're already putting the kid into the bath. They're already starting to cook dinner. They've forgotten already. They've gotten into something, and now it's too late to stop what they're doing, right? They can't now deal with the kids and the dinner and then get over to the house. They're not showing up. If you're doing 3 hours before, as an example, they're going to have forgotten. Then they're going to get into something, and it's the same situation. They're just not showing up. So I find that 2 hours is a great time period because it's not early enough for them to get into something, and it's not too late for them to have, forgotten about the appointment. So I've just found through experience, texting confirming 2 hours before makes the most sense. And I never, ever go to a showing with only one person. I don't care where, if it's across the street from my house, I will not show up. I will change the appointment with that person to a different day of the week. Because I've had it so many times in the past where I go to the showing with one person, I'm all excited, and they don't show up, and I just missed dinner with the kids or whatever it is. So that to me is the absolute worst. Never show up with just one showing. Right? Make sure you got 2, 3, 4 or better.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the best things that we've implemented.
Yeah, that incredible rule. All right, hey guys, look. So setting up the showings here, very simple rules of thumb. Keep it simple. Okay, short and sweet. You don't sell the house on the phone or by text. Okay, that's not your job. Your job is specifically getting them to the house. That's it. That's all. Because imagine you sell the house, they go there, expectations are high, they don't like the house, whatever it is. Your job is to get people in the house. Whether they like it or not, to be honest with you, may or may not matter. Don't forget, you also want the place to look like it's got significant interest. It's really doesn't matter as long as there's multiple people in the house. So that's your job. Get them to the house. Don't sell it. Choose 2 days of the week. So Gary, you mentioned this. One evening slot typically and one daytime slot. So Wednesday, for example, 7 to 8 works very well. Saturday, 2 to 3, maybe Sunday, whatever you want to do, right? But daytime slot and an evening slot, that makes the best sense because you want to catch people that work during the day, and you can catch people that work in the evening on the weekend, for example. Now, book several appointments in 15-minute intervals. We talked about that already, right? This is important because it will help allow you to keep everything manageable. Some people are going to walk into the house and walk right out. They're not going to have any thoughts about it. They're not going to want to fill out the app, and that's fantastic. You do not want to chase those people. You're not a salesperson, right? But if you book out on 15-minute intervals, you will have the opportunity to speak to everybody who does have interest in the house. And you know what, frankly, you may not even have to, you may even be speaking to several groups at the same time. And by doing that, that shows even more interest, and they'll be much more inclined to sign the app or to fill out the app. Remember, guys, it's not an open house. People don't like open houses. They hate open houses. They like appointments. You are booking appointments. You are not doing an open house from 7 to 8. You don't put that in your reply. You're not doing an open house from Saturdays from 2 to 3. You are booking a specific appointment with these people. So I'll see you Saturday at 2:15. How does that sound, right? Can that work for you, right? Or can you make it at Wednesday at 7:30 as an example, right? These are appointments for these folks. Because actually, remember Gary, we were showing that one place, and I think we told him, the guy, I think this is way back. We told the guy, hey, it's an open house. Come at between, I think it was Saturday 2 to 3 or something like that. Right. The guy showed up. We had 10, 15 people in the house. The guy flipped out. I don't know if you remember the contractor guy. He came in, He flipped out. He said, "Huh? I thought this was just for me, an appointment. I didn't think this was an open house." And he went crazy. And he hightailed it out of there. Now, frankly, that's not a guy we wanted to deal with anyways, obviously. But by the same token, he made it pretty clear that we should have set an appointment slot with him. And it's very easy for us to say, hey, oh, you know what? Listen, some people came late. Some people came early. Some people are still here because they like the place, in order to justify why there may be people in the house. You see, it's very difficult when somebody believes it's an open house to now try to justify a personal appointment, right? Or some personal time for them.
Yeah.
So that's what
I mean, and that doesn't happen very often.
No, it very rarely happens. But,
right.
People, I find, to be honest with you, people often come early. So if I'm booking for Wednesday from 7 to 8, I'm always getting there at 6:45 because I'm coming in, I'm turning on all the lights. All the lights are going on, and I'm setting up, right? Putting out my putting up my information sheets, my sign in, and all the rest of it. And I know that people tend to come 10 minutes early. But like I said, it's very easy to justify that. Hey, somebody came early, somebody came late, somebody's still here. So if you book 50-minute intervals, I think you're going to save yourself a lot of headache. And it's also the right thing to do, I believe. But it's still manageable. That's the point. And as I said, always reconfirm before you go. Let them know. In my experience, I've been using, please call or text if late or not coming. And you will have far fewer no-shows. So that's my line. Please call or text if late or not coming. And most people will confirm, yeah, I'll see you then. Some people may not respond at all, but they will show up. And then on the other end, a lot of people they'll tell you, hey, sorry, I found a place, or I can't make it, got called into work, whatever the case is. And at least that way you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to be there. Okay, guys, the interview. All right, so what you're going to need at the house? Applications. And there's a sample application here for you guys. We're not really going to run through it because you guys have the opportunity, especially as members, you can go and grab that form from us directly on the site. But you'll need the application. You'll need several. You'll need a sign-in sheet. We recommend a sign-in sheet. That way you can keep track of who came and who didn't show, for example. Plus, if you've got a sign-in sheet, people always ask, hey, is it really busy? And you can show, yeah, it's actually pretty busy. You better sign up right now. I've been printing off a map of the area, and I'll pinpoint schools, grocery stores, and other things. I'll put the house on the map as well, just so that people can get a good picture, because they will ask you, hey, what's around? And you may not be familiar with the area, but now you look like the expert, and they can see it for themselves. Then I've got a next step checklist, and that's important because a lot of people will ask you, hey, what's your application process like? It's very simple. You fill out the app. Here's the next steps. Here's the next step. Here's the next step. And of course, it's also going to include things that they will need. For example, we'll talk about in a bit, but income verification, source of income, ID, and those kind of things. Guys, don't forget to bring pens. I've done it. You got a pen, and how you gonna fill out the app, right? You can't. So pens. Bring a pen. Bring several. 4, 5, 6. Can't hurt. All right. At the appointments, remember, it's going to be busy. Make sure you say hello. Make sure you welcome them in and have them sign in, right? And let them know that you're there to answer any questions that they have. Again, you are not to sell the house. You are not going to follow them through the house. If any of you guys ever been to a property at, investors, for example, you've been to the house and the owner is there and they're following you around. Don't you hate that, Gary? That's the worst, right? Owners following you around the house. You don't feel comfortable.
Right.
You can't talk amongst yourselves. It's just the worst feeling.
Yeah, no, it lets them be able to, talk amongst themselves. And listen, if they don't like the home, they don't like the home. It's what it is, right? Yeah, so you following them is not going to sell the property.
Well, in fact, I think it's going to detract from the appreciation of the property, to be honest with you. I think by following them around, they're going to just get uncomfortable and then, you know what, let's go. So that's not your job. You can hang out in the kitchen or the living room, wherever you've got a table or a space to lay your apps, and that's where you hang out. Say hello and let them do their thing up and down, wherever they need to go, right? You're just there to answer questions and have them fill out the app. And by the way, have them fill out the app on the spot. I never let clients leave with the app. When they come in, if they like the house, they fill it out immediately. Think of it as retail. When you go to a store, the clerk the sales girl will say to you, hey, everything okay? And I'm just browsing, and you leave. You're never coming back. So this is why they try to make the sale on the spot. And this is what I suggest you guys do. They like the house, fill out the app on the spot. That's why I keep the paper apps. If they leave, I guarantee you will never see them or that app again, no matter what they say. It's about 100%. It also gives you the opportunity to review the app on the spot. Nothing better than to talk to somebody face to face and see them eye to eye. You ever try to get somebody on the phone? You ever try to really listen to somebody on the phone and try to figure out if they're fibbing, telling you the truth, anything hiding? They're hiding anything? It's very much easier to do it on the spot in person. You get a good feel for the people. So don't be afraid to ask questions. It's your property at the end of the day, right? There we go. Okay, so meat and potatoes, guys. The screening process. Look at that. You guys are gonna be little CSI investigators. Oh, that was fun. Okay, screening process. Here's what I do. I murder social media. I kill those Google searches. The stuff that I've dug up about prospective tenants is unreal. So look them up on social media. I mean, it sounds obvious. I get it. But this is something you want to do. Now, you know what? At the end of the day, if they're young and they're at the bar holding a drink, that's what it is. Okay. However, if they're holding, ragers and house parties at the house,
and the other thing, yeah, do your thing, and then look, and the other thing as well too, especially if they're saying, well, you know what, they don't have any pets or dogs or cats, and all of a sudden now they got their profile
that's a good
picture is a picture of them and their little poodle. Then, well, then right, it's probably not the French poodle.
Yeah, probably not. And you know what? The Google search is great because, in all honesty, you know what? I found some interesting things about folks, and you really try to avoid people with negative press. At the end of the day, I mean, you can be a good Samaritan and you have a good heart and so forth, but at the end of the day, it's still your money, right? So I tend to avoid people with negative press. Call them, ask them more questions if you need to, right? Just don't be afraid. It is your property. You know what? You haven't signed the lease yet. Ask them all the questions. And if you're satisfied, you're going to gather the rest of their info: driver's license, ID, the last 2 pay stubs, possibly. Most recent T4, if they don't have pay stubs, maybe the employment letters, other sources of income. Like a lot of people got child benefits, child support, OSAP, pension money. These are things you'll want to look into because these will add to the income. These will help them support the rent, pay you. Sometimes they're contractors, right? Or they're getting paid in cash. At the end of the day, they may not have pay stubs. So you may ask for the last 2 months' bank statements. Don't be afraid to ask for that. If you can't collect income sources in any other way, this is the way to go. 2 months bank statement. And you're really looking for money coming in. I also look for consistency of bills paid, right? So I'm looking for ability to pay. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm also looking for consistency. Is their cell phone bill paid on time, around the same time every month? Is their MasterCard bill paid around the same time every month? Are they consistent? Because if they're consistent, I feel that they'll be consistent with you. And that's how I work when it comes to the pay stubs. The 2 months bank statements in particular.
Yeah, and these are all really good points. I mean, these are things that we've learned over the years that have allowed us to stay away from tenants that just trash our homes. It really and truly has. I mean, listen, I've gone through it, and by implementing some of these strategies that Chris is going through right now, it's been a complete game changer for us.
Yeah,
it really has.
Absolutely. All right, guys, call their employer. If they're currently employed, ask the employer. And I typically tend to Google the employer's phone number myself, as opposed to rely on the info that they provided to me. Contact the second to last landlord if they have a second to last landlord. You got the information. Listen, I ask insight from the second to last because I rarely call the previous landlord. Hey, they're a horrible tenant. Guess what? The last landlord is going to say, "Oh, they're fantastic. They're great," because the prospect of getting them out is they'll say anything, anything to get them out, right? So I rarely rely on the previous landlord information.
Yeah, listen, nobody's going to put down a bad referral, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
So I mean,
go ahead.
I was going to say, most of the time, for me personally, I never call the referral. I rarely call because I just did my own investigation through CSI. But you were saying that you'd actually call the second landlord, right, or the previous one. The previous one.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, at the end of the day, they may not even remember. It could be years ago, so maybe it doesn't even matter at the end of the day. Right. But I never call the previous landlord. It's almost nonsensical to do that because, as I said, if it's a bad tenant, they'll tell you how fantastic the tenant was, so hopefully to get them out, right?
Yeah, they want them off their hands into yours.
Yeah, hey, bye, see you later, right? Okay, so guys, the credit check. Now, some of you guys aren't familiar with a credit check. Equifax, for example, you can get them. There's a couple other sites that you can do them for 25, 30 bucks, whatever it is. Caution though, important. Everybody wants to do a credit check, but here's the deal. Bad credit should not be the immediate disqualifier, okay? In fact, it's probably a big reason for why they're renting from you and not buying their own home. Yeah, that and down payment maybe. But if they're renting from you, it's a good chance their credit isn't stellar. But through that credit check, again, I'm looking for specific things. I'm looking for, are they at the end of their credit? Have they reached their maximum credit? Do they have any available credit? Why is their credit as such? And, you guys probably should get in the habit of reading your own credit reports and getting familiar with that. One place that we've been using lately, and Gary, you mentioned this early, is Neighborly. We've been going to Neighborly, and these guys now are doing the credit checks. They're doing them for free. I used to pay 25 bucks for the credit checks with Neighborly, and now they're doing them for free. Plus, they're giving you a report, and I find that's actually invaluable. I find it's really fantastic approach.
It is. It's a really good
free.
tool.
At the end of the day, it's free. Why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah.
Credit report is a credit report at the end of the day, but you do have to be a little bit familiar with how to read it. But as I said, it's not an immediate disqualifier because there could be certainly several reasons. Never accept the credit check from the tenant. It could be, you could do that on Word, or you could do that on Adobe Photoshop, frankly. Run it yourself. It's always good to run it yourself, even if you have to pay a few bucks. For Neighborly is free. All right, so look, the screening process. The rent to income formula. I suggest, listen, we've been using this for years, and so far it hasn't failed. All right, it's very simple. We want to figure out what the max monthly rent that somebody can afford is, or you can do it backwards and find out what kind of income somebody needs to match your monthly rent. But it's very simple. Collect all their income sources, divide that by 12 to find out their monthly, because you're going to get the annual income. Divide by 12 to find out their monthly take-home pay, and then you're going to divide that by 3, because we never want more than 1/3 of their income to go towards the rent. Listen, they got other bills to pay, right? They got credit card, they got a car payment, they got this, that, and the other thing. And here's how I know this formula works. Aside from, I think, Gary, you told me this a long time ago, but here's how we know that it works. The bank uses it. You go to the mortgage broker, we talk about TDS or GDS, can't be more than 1/3. Listen, follow the big boys, do what they do, all right?
Yeah. Another really good tip here. This was a game changer for us as well, too.
Oh, yeah. It is. It actually is a game changer. Absolutely. Because you don't have to fuss about, hey, how much do they make? Listen, you can effectively disqualify somebody in the blink of an eye, right? You just do the quick math, boom, 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 boom. You don't have the income resources. It can't happen. Now, you're not going to tell them that, right, up front, but at least for you. If everything comes back okay and you're satisfied, now it's time to let them know and set up a meeting. And then you can start writing up the lease, right? Here we go. So, got a section here called signing the lease. And here's what you need to know about the lease. As of April 2018, every landlord in Ontario must now use what's called the Ontario Standard Lease. Some of you guys might be using your own leases. Some of you guys might have picked up some leases off the internet. And you know what? That's fine for playing around, for just getting a feel for different leases and clauses, different things. But you must now use the Ontario Standard Lease. If you do not use the Ontario Standard Lease, however, and you do not provide it within 21 days of the tenant moving in, or even the tenant requesting it, they can withhold 1 month rent. You don't want to get into that situation, right? However, the Ontario Standard Lease, to be honest with you, is a bit lacking, right? You can add extra clauses. There is a section in there to add extra clauses. For example, rules regarding smoking and other things. We've got some extra clauses that you guys can get as members, of course, and you can download. And we're happy to help you out with those too. But I highly recommend you familiarize yourself with the Ontario standard lease, as well as any further clauses that you may want to pop in. Now, I like to pop by the tenant's house. I do not like to sign the lease as much as possible, I don't want to sign the lease at the house that I'm renting. I typically don't like to go to Timmy's to do it either, as much as possible, right? Within reason. I typically like to try to pop by the tenant's home as much as possible. Because that way I get to see, hey, are they hiding anything from me? How are they living? Are they clean? Do they smoke? Any pets that they forgot to mention or to talk about, right? It just gives me a better perspective of the tenant. Now, here's the deal. Just because you've gone to the tenant's house does not mean you've got to sign the lease. You're not obligated, right? If you haven't signed the lease at this stage, you can always walk away. That's why I put at the end here. If you feel uncomfortable, stop. Stop and walk away. It's very simple. Again, it's still your property. You cannot feel obligated. Now, make sure you review the lease clause by clause. That way everybody's comfortable, everybody's on the up and up, and you look like a landlord who knows their stuff, who knows what they're talking about. You don't want to just, hey, here you go. Review it clause by clause, because if they have any questions, you can look like the authority that you are, and you are an authority, right? So this has helped me a lot as well. Get last month's rent on signing. Now you could take this a couple different ways. You could take it in e-transfer. You could take it by a bank draft, for example. Just remember, if you take it by check will take about, could be 4 or 5 days to clear, right? So understand that. If you get first and last up front, great. But if nothing else, get at least the deposit, the last month's rent, right? That way you can feel comfortable signing, and then maybe you'll do first month's rent on day one, maybe when they get the keys, for example, right? So rent for keys. All right, do not give the keys before you get the rent for the first month. As I said, don't forget, a personal check may take time to clear, and a e-transfer may take 30 minutes to go through, right? So be prepared maybe to hang around a little bit, or let them know, hey, this is what I'm coming on this time with the keys. Get your e-transfer going, and that way when you get there, everything's done and everybody's happy. All right. I've waited around half an hour, I think 45 minutes with a tenant one time. That wasn't ideal, but I'm not giving you the keys before I see the rent. All right, so how to accept the rent? You can accept the rent several different ways. After you've received the deposit, sign the lease, maybe you can make some copies for the tenant, like receipts and stuff if you need to. But make sure you give them a copy of the lease, and you keep a copy as well, okay? Oftentimes I'll just scan it to them. That way they've always got it. Tenants tend to misplace things. So at least that way they've got it in their email somewhere, and you know that you sent it to them. Don't forget, you don't give it to them within 21 days, they can withhold rent. So don't want to get into that situation. Bank draft, that's a fantastic way to go. E-transfer is probably the most accepted right now, I would expect. I still like checks, believe it or not. Personal checks are good with me. You know what? I just happen to like them. You could take cash too. Cash is always great. Just give receipts. You don't want to get into a situation where I give you money, now you did it, that kind of stuff. E-transfer is great because you've got yourself your own receipt there. And a bank draft, of course, it comes with a receipt as well, carbon copy. But I like personal checks personally because I feel I'm more in control. If it's the first of the month, I'm putting in the rent on the first of the month. The tenant may have to call me and say, hey, Chris, sorry, can you hold the check for a bit? E-transfer, on the other hand, you know what? A lot of people love it. But sometimes tenants forget the first of the month, and now I got to call them from time to time and say, hey, put the money in, right? You can't ask for 12 post-dated checks, but if offered, you can accept it for sure. And caution, I would avoid accepting 3 to 6 to 12 months rent up front. It sounds fantastic. Wow, all this money up front. But here's the problem. A lot of times these guys can be problem tenants because they think it's attractive to a landlord to accept the money, full big lump sum. And then when they start trashing your place, how are you going to get them out? You've accepted the rent. The landlord tenant board is going to say, sorry, you've accepted all the rent. So Getting them out is going to be really tough for you guys. So I typically like month by month, end of story. Feel free to do what you guys feel, but I don't know, Gary, what do you think?
Well, listen, I want to clarify something though, just in regards to the post-dated checks, and make sure that you understand that before they move in, you see that you're accepting either cash or a bank draft, but you don't want to check before you give them the key. So I want to make sure that's very important. Once they've moved in now and they give you post-dated checks, one of the things that we used to do, or that I used to do, is I would actually take those post-dated checks, if they were willing to do that, and I would give it to the bank for a small fee, and then the banks would actually deposit those checks for me every single month.
Sure.
So I didn't have to go to the bank to do that each month.
Yeah,
so that's just a tip, right? So if you want to do that, that's just one way of doing it.
Yeah, and it's inexpensive. It's a good use of your time. Truthfully, you maybe not want to go to the bank for $3-4 per check. They'll do the deposit directly there for you, right? Yeah. Frankly, I don't think most people are going to get checks anymore, but it is what it is, right? And as I said, guys, make sure the check clears before turning over the keys. So I know, Gary, you said don't take checks, personal checks before the keys. But if you take it, 4 or 5 days ahead of time, as long as the check clears, you're ready to go, right? Okay, so I don't know, guys. As we look at, man, we're pretty well on time. I got through this whole bit and a good time here. But look, I got quick little bonus material for you guys. You're gonna ask me, Chris, well, what if the rent is late? Yeah, very simple. You're immediately going to give the tenant an N4. So here's the deal. Going back here, e-transfers. As I told you, I like checks because for me, I feel more in control. But an e-transfer may be the best way to go for some of you guys. However, because the e-transfer is relying on the tenant to be conscious of being at the first of the month. Listen, nobody ever forgets the first of the month unless they're a tenant. I don't know. Tenants, somehow they always forget. But here's the point. Give the tenant the N4 immediately, on the second day late, right? And the next time they'll be more conscious of the first of the month, right? But here's the deal. You're the big bad landlord. Understand that in most people's eyes, right? And you are the authority, frankly. So let the tenant know that, hey, this is a mandatory form. You know what? But hey, what it does is it takes the blame off of you, the big bad landlord, and puts their irritation or their ire on the system. Because yes, you're providing a place, and yes, this rent is due to you, of course, but you also don't want to get into a conflict with them. You just want to say, hey, look, guys, look, I understand rent is late. Here's your N4. Pay me when you get that, and just rip up the form immediately as soon as you can pay the rent. Hey, this is something I have to do. It's not me, it's the system. Blame the system. See, that way you can shift the blame off of you, yet still be the authority in this matter, right? And never let them sucker you into giving you more than more time to pay the rent. Give them that N4 immediately. N4 is the late payment of rent. That's a form you can find on the Ontario Landlord and Tenant Board website, right? Don't let them give you more time. More time just means more time for them to stay in the property without paying. Right.
This is where I would say we see a lot of investors make the biggest mistake.
Well, you know what, man? You got a heart. I get it, right?
Yeah.
You got a heart. They tell you a great story, and you feel bad, right?
Yeah. The best thing to do, again, like what Chris is saying, just blame the process, blame the system. Say, look, I hate having to send out the N4,
right,
but I got to follow the process, but when you pay, then just rip it up. Because here's what happens. 3 months go by because you're going to hear all these different stories from the tenants about, why things are late and their kids this and their kids that. And next thing you know, that's why you hear a lot of investors say, well, it takes, a year to get them out. Well, it does if you're not following the process. So
exactly.
Follow the process.
Exactly. And I'll be honest, listen, the landlord tenant board is tenant friendly. It's biased towards the tenant.
Absolutely.
So frankly, listen, we've been doing this for years, and we're making we've got a lot of good renters, a lot of great rental properties, a lot of great investors who have been renting for years. And as long as you follow the process, as long as you don't get suckered in by a good story, you'll be okay.
Yep.
So can you take more than last month's deposit? Oh, frankly, no. You know, a lot of people talk about a damage deposit. Not in Ontario. You can take first and last months only. You can, however, take a key deposit, right? But damage deposit, $500 for damage, none of that. You can't take that. Illegal to take that. If you have to go to landlord tenant board and it's challenged, you're in trouble.
All right. So, Chris, listen, we got a few minutes left here. You want to see if we can maybe get through some of these questions? We got about 4 or 5 questions here, and I'm sure some more are going to start rolling in.
Sure. You know what? Actually,
Yep.
just talk about this last point, Gary. Why don't you tell them, because this was something you taught me years ago about the gifts.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, for one of the things that I used to do for pretty much all of my tenants when they moved in, is I give them a nice little small gift, $50 to $100. The other thing that I used to do as well, which I found went a long way, is at Christmas, I would also give them another gift, like $100, gift card. And listen, by doing that, I was in many times giving a better gift to them than sometimes their own family was. And so because of that relationship that I was building with them, I found, tend to look after my property so much better. And they would also sometimes, even when I showed up, because they knew I was coming every time at Christmas time, would also give me a gift as well too. Now I wasn't looking for it, but I got one as well too. And it builds a better relationship. You're not trying to be buddy with the tenants. You're not going to invite them over to your barbecue now, but it's still, treat your tenants like gold. Because if you take a look at it after that end of that first year, you're going to take a look at how much the home has maybe potentially gone up, depending on what market you're in, and how much they've paid down your mortgage, and potentially, what type of cash flow you're getting. So, treat your tenants like gold.
Yeah, they're your customers at the end of the day, right? They're paying.
Yeah.
And again, it builds the bond, right? It's harder to stiff somebody if they like you. All right.
Exactly. All right. So listen, I know a few people do have to go back for
Yes.
lunch and all that, right? So let's go through a couple of questions here. So we got this one here from Bruno. What if your potential tenants can't make those time slots? What do you do, Chris?
Oh, yeah. Listen, you know what? If they can't make the time slot, I shift them to the next time slot. And I just keep shifting. That's it.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. For me, I'm not showing up just for you. So if you can't make it at that time, then you know what? You just got to get shifted to another time. The tenant is still looking for a rental at the end of the day. Don't bend.
Yeah. And Bruno was just asking in regards to deductions on gift cards. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. Anything off the house. Even I was telling you about hiring the cleaning lady, the cleaning crew. I shouldn't say lady. I'll clean myself too, man. And even the photographer. Yeah, absolutely. Write it off, man. Write it off.
So what do you tell your tenants? If they've been declined.
If the tenants have been declined, what do you say? Is that the question?
Yeah. So they may ask. Go ahead.
They may ask. They may harass. Believe that. It depends on where you are in the process. Let's say, for example, you're not looking anymore. You've already filled the place. Very simple. Thank you very much for your. In fact, you know what? Really, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter at what stage in the process you are. It's very simple. The way I say it is, thank you very much for your application. However, we're working with a different prospect or working with a different tenant. Never tell them the reason, because you do not want to get yourself in a hot water with human rights or the landlord tenant board and none of that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your app. We are working with a different applicant. Period.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. How can we confirm we are charging market rent? I don't know, there's a couple different ways, right? One, take a look at Kijiji, see what other people are charging. Two, sometimes I like to actually just push the envelope a little bit. And if you go to do that open house and nobody shows up, well, then you're trying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know what? Oftentimes start high, see what happens, right? You don't have to start low. You could start high, see the response you get, and the market will tell you pretty quickly. All right. The market will tell you pretty quickly where you are or where you should be.
What else do we got here? Do you aim to show it empty or with current tenants? And do you pre-screen tenants with a call? So we'll go through maybe those two, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, sure. Do I show the place with tenants? Yes, absolutely. Do I show the place vacant? Yes, absolutely. Right? You want to try to fill your place as soon as possible. And legally, you have the right to show your property, providing your tenant is giving you 60 days notice. You legally have the right to set up showings with them. I mean, obviously, it's got to be convenient times. Now, understand, with some tenants, I just had a tenant, she was clean as a whistle, place looked immaculate. It was beautiful because it was staged effectively for me. However, and that worked out very well. However, if you've got a tenant that is very messy, it may be a detriment to you to show the place when the tenant is in the property before they've left. So you'll have to be the judge there as to how the property will look. However, with that being said, two things that I think are going to be important here is the first one is post it anyways. Yeah. Get those replies coming, post it anyways. And the second thing is, for example, the next kind of sub question to that is rentals. Hey, do I show the property? Do I post the property? Do I show viewings of the property while I'm still renovating? 100% the answer is yes. Yes, yes, yes. People love renovations. So show the property, post it. Now, if you got a bad tenant, your tenant's messy, maybe want to wait a little bit on that side.
All right. So listen, Chris, we're a little bit over time. People are starting to drop off now and they got to go back to work. So listen, for the members that are on the call, if you joined late or if you want to listen to this again, as always, it's been recorded. We're going to put it up on the members only site so you can watch it again. Like I've always said, I think repetition is the key to success. With that, Chris, thank you very much. That was great. A lot of the things that we've learned over the years to ensure that we always get the right tenants in our property. And again, if you guys have any particular questions, you can always reach out to myself. You can find our contact at smarthomechoice.ca, and we're more than happy to help. All right. So hopefully that helps. And again, if you guys want additional webinars, we're always going to be doing webinars, but if there's a particular topic that you want, let us know and we'll do it for you guys. Okay. Thank you guys all very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes.
I'm heading out to Niagara to do some training for 3 days and we'll be back. And don't forget Dave DeBow Thursday evening at 7:30. All right.
All right.
Great, guys.
All right. Take care, guys. Hey, Gary, before we lock it up,
Yep.
What was that last question? Some people might want to hear the bonus.
Do you pre-screen tenants with a call?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I got a client of ours asked me that same question just today. I never pre-screen on Kijiji. I don't fool around. I don't negotiate, nothing. My job is to get the tenant to the house, period. What's the point of pre-screening them, negotiating with them maybe even, and then they come over not like the house? My job is to get them to the house. I will interview them on the spot. So I don't pre-screen. Don't feel it's a waste of your time because you want a busy open house anyways. All right. Yeah, so I never pre-screen. I don't know about what do you do?
I don't pre-screen either.
Yep. Everybody shows up.
Yeah, I can listen. If the rent is $1,850 or $1,900, they know what they can for them. Well, they don't know, but you're not going to get somebody who can only afford $1,000 coming up, right? Right. So I don't bother with it. I just want them to come out and get as many people out there as possible, so that I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah, everybody shows up.
All right, cool guys. Yeah. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.